People don't like my short fuse with 9/11 Kooks, but look, I was patient with them from about 2008 to about 2016, and it's just I've run out of any patience for missile tards and stuff because you've had enough time to get the correct information. There's no excuse.
Well, a lot of these people are new to it too. Like
it doesn't matter. I figured out the method that gets them off of that the fastest is to be a dick to them. Like, they need hard love. I'm like, don't be a dumbass. Like, that ridicule is what
you
works.
got to remember though.
Like,
man,
oh well, you know,
a lot of these people.
Yeah, I know you watch Loose Change, and they said, oh, an airplane can't fit in a 16-foot hole. I agree, but it's not a 16-foot hole. It's 90 feet. They purposely only showed you the hole in the second floor. And every photo they showed you, they have some spray or a truck parked in the way. They don't show you the bottom floor on purpose. But then even when you see the giant hole, like, okay, it is as big as a plane. They just keep moving the goalpost. Oh, the engine. Oh, the light poles. Oh, this guy said this and that. It's like, just give it up. There's debris of the plane in the building. There's DNA from the passengers also in the building. Bodies, like, and over 144 witnesses. They're like, yeah, but I don't have a high def footage of it. What about my 87 cameras? I'm like, okay, that's the affidavit referring to New York, not DC, that they confiscated the cameras from. There were never 87 cameras on the Pentagon. But it's like, I have to sit here and go through 100 whatabouts and debunk them all in a row before the person's satisfied and will finally give up the missile crap. I'm like, what's the evidence for a missile? None. There's no evidence for a missile. They think it's lack of evidence for a plane, but the lack of evidence from a plane is based on their own ignorance or because they got lied to by Loose Change and Alex Jones. Loose Change got nothing right about 9/11 other than the date. AE 9/11 Truth didn't even. They're like, oh, we're architects and engineers. There's no way a plane could bust through 6 reinforced walls, blah, 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 because of the rings in the Pentagon. There are no rings on the bottom 2 floors. How can you be an architect or an engineer and make an opinion about something when you don't even know the fucking blueprint of the building? It went through 2 walls. That's all. It went through the outer wall and a bunch of sheetrock, and then the landing gear punched out of the C ring. There is no B and A ring in between because it's shaped like a crown. And it's like, it would take you 5 seconds to try and falsify that opinion and go look at, like, what if I Google a plane did hit the Pentagon, and it would be over. But they don't. They go and seek out the conclusion that they were spoon-fed. And if you don't have the Pentagon, if you don't admit there's an airplane, then you're exonerating Dick Cheney because he had 2 chances to shoot that down, and he would not allow it. Norman Mineta was there, the transportation secretary. He's giving his testimony saying the young man whipped his head around and said, it's 30 miles out, it's 20 miles out, does the order still stand? And Cheney would not shoot down the plane. Well, if you don't have a plane, you've just absolved the connection between the vice president of the United States and 9/11. Not only that, then you don't have the hijackers. Al-Hazmi and Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khalid al-Mihdhar were on that plane. They were financed by Saudi Arabia, lived with a Saudi good agent in California who bought them a house, wired money through Osama Basnan and Omar Bayoumi, right? Was seen by the CIA at Khaled Sheikh Mohammed in Al-Qaeda summit meeting in Malaysia. CIA knew who they were, knew where they were living, knew they were going to flight schools, would not inform the FBI. Saudi Arabia knew all the above, lived with them, gave them logistical support, gave them financial support. You are cutting off the connection to Saudi Arabia and the United States that we have dead to rights because of the Pentagon flight by saying there's no plane, it was a missile. You're fucking stupid. And just stop it. Just get out of the way. You had like 15 years of that, right? It is our turn. AE 9/11 is useless. They do things for the brand. They don't talk about Israel. They don't talk about Saudi Arabia. They don't talk about anybody who actually did anything. They don't talk about the people. There's a fucking van packed with bombs that was caught, right? Driven by a foreign intelligence agency. They ignore that and go, I think there might be some thermite. You don't have to sit there and wonder about thermite or whatever when you have a foreign intelligence agency caught with vehicles packed with fucking bombs. We know who did it. The reason that you can't get out who did it and the information of the knowable information of who did it and how they did it and why they did it is because of the 9/11 kook movement that acts like none of that information exists, and we just have to base it on eyeballing the building falling down too fast in our opinion and looking around for nanothermite or acting like a missile hit the Pentagon. It's just a big mystery. Shut the fuck up with that stuff. I haven't done an anti-kook thing in a while, but they, that's one thing that'll trigger the shit. I'll be like, I will hit you. Like, I am so sick of this. Like, stop it. Stop being dumb. It was a plane. It was Flight 77. It was. Pieces of Flight 77 are in the goddamn building. The DNA from the passengers at Walter Reed right now. Pathologists doing that. You'd have to get all the medics to lie, all the firemen to lie, all the cops, all the people that worked at the Pentagon, all the people on I-395 and 495 who saw the plane go to the Pentagon. No one saw it fly away. You'd have to make a plane disappear. You'd have to fake all the phone calls. You'd have to fake DNA evidence. And you'd have to fake a giant 90-foot hole. You'd have to make it look exactly like a plane hit. Why? Why wouldn't you just hit the building with a plane? That explains everything. All the evidence matches the plane, just like New York. But some of these people don't think planes hit New York either. They're like, oh no, that was holograms, man. Blah, 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 blah. Shut up. You're falling for disinfo. I get it if you're a paid spook and you're saying these lies to, derail the whole thing. But if you're one of these people that's not a paid spook, you're just fucking dumb, and you saw a couple movies on the internet, and you're like, I think there's a missile. Shut up. You're useless. You're worse than useless. You're doing damage to the families that lost loved ones on 9/11 by saying, there was no plane. They shot 93 down. Shut up. Next. I hate those people.
I know.
I hate stupid people. And you should hate. Everyone should hate those people. Everyone should hate those people. You're fucking up 9/11. It's one of the biggest attacks. It is the biggest terrorist attack on American soil. We know who did it, and nothing will ever happen because everyone's afraid to even bring that subject up because they don't want to deal with the tar baby of being associated with Alex Jones and the other weirdos that have people microwaving dollar bills and saying people are going to live in a bunker in New Zealand and all the other crazy that came with that.
You keep in mind that a lot of people. So I agree with what you're saying. Like, and that's been a huge. The movement up till now has very much been hindered by that. But you got to keep in mind that a lot of people.
As soon as someone brings that up out of their mouth, you'll be like, "Shut the fuck up, you goddamn retard!" Okay, like, it is a fucking plane.
We're not born when 9/11 happened. It's like,
I know.
It's like me talking about fucking Vietnam. It's like
but you don't go. You don't have an impassioned opinion about Vietnam like that, until you have a lot of facts. It's like, right. Well, if you don't know that you don't know. I'm not
saying the people arguing with you saying it's a missile.
It's not millennials saying this. These are people who are all older than me. These are people that watched Loose Change, went around and told everybody they knew because they saw a film on the internet, and it hurts their ego to admit they're wrong. So they're like, oh, I got to just stick with it regardless of what evidence comes out afterward.
Well, yeah, fuck them. But there's a huge, basically, like, younger generation. I think the majority of people would agree that 9/11, there was some kind of cover-up involved with 9/11. Which is
everyone agrees there was a cover-up.
Generation you're talking about.
I think the younger generation is better on this for once.
Right.
Because they didn't get the Loose Change propaganda because they weren't alive when it came out. Right? But that propaganda hit hard. And they're doing the same thing with Epstein. They're trying to... They did the same thing with the Podestas, right? The Podestas are pedophiles. But what they did with Pizzagate, saying there's a tunnel under the restaurant and stuff, was verifiably false. And so when you go and you do that, people are like, are you being emotional? I am being emotional. You're supposed to be emotional. You're supposed to care about stuff. I've been doing this 20 years. Almost 20 years on September 11th. 19 years of dealing with dumbasses. And I just, with the energy weapons and the do and this, and like, architects for engineers in 9/11, Richard Gage got on National Geographic and said it was a missile. And they sat there and did tests for him, showed him right in his face how that wouldn't work, and it didn't matter, right? They did not even know what the blueprints of the building even were. So you can go around and get a bunch of architects and engineers to sign something by lying to them. Like, do you think a plane went in a 16-foot hole? They'll go, no, that's impossible. And they would be right. but it's not a 16-foot hole, so it doesn't matter. If your premise is wrong, your conclusion is wrong. And they soaked up all this money and time, and they spent like $300,000 on some dumbass Alaska study that has steel beams moving right through other beams without any effect, like they're made out of ghost material or something. It was a complete waste of money.
Should watch his documentary, which is The Empire Unmasked, and there's a free version.
War by Deception. You can watch. I don't spend 1 second on the physics because you don't need to. Yes, you can look at it and be like, you can hear the kaboom. You can see the witnesses saying the subway's full of smoke. The cops found a van packed with explosives in the building, and they found other ones that outside later. There was a follow-up truck bombing in addition to the planes hitting. All right, you don't need a bomb on every floor. You don't need any of that. It doesn't matter. What matters is who did it.
It's funny because I remember seeing this reported live. I remember seeing the bridge stuff with the van, like,
it was live because you were alive for it, right?
Right, and I saw it reported live, and I remember thinking, "Oh, well, this is obviously related." You know, it
In
can't,
addition to the George Washington Bridge, though, I mean, Pat Dawson reported on it, and Rick Sanchez reported on it. The cops found a van in World Trade Center 1 with explosive devices in it. They took it out to the Church of Dades or whatever to have the bomb squad work on it. They were towing them out of there. If they found one, there was more than one, right? And that's exactly what they did in 1993 with Ramzi Youssef, parking a Ryder truck full of explosives in there.
I mean, it's
the Kook movement will never like all my haters are the missile people. And I'm like, where's your evidence? Like, are you saying they faked all the DNA? Yes. Are you saying they faked all the pictures of all the debris is fake, right? All the pieces of plane are fake, the hole's fake, everything's just like, you could say that about anything. Just like, no matter how much evidence you have, you go, oh, that's fake. Okay, what evidence of it being fake do you have? No, I just said it's fake, so it is. You cannot get that many people all together on a conspiracy without talking like that. Like, here's what happened. A plane hit the building. That's why there's a plane-sized hole. That's why there's pieces of a plane in it. And that's why all the passengers that were on that plane are dead, verified by their own DNA.
It's sad the way that, like,
what the fuck are you tracking around? They're like, oh, it couldn't do this corkscrew maneuver. It didn't. It went miles away and came back. He came in too high, turned around, came back lower and hit it. That means the Pentagon had 2 chances to shoot that plane down and didn't do it because of Dick Cheney. And Dick Cheney was in on it with Richard Bleet and Clark and the rest of them. We know the real perpetrators of 9/11, who planned it, did it, paid for it, and everything. And it doesn't matter. I could sit there and give you every single document and say it there, and they just sit there waiting for their turn to talk. They're ignoring all that and go, well, you know what? I think maybe it was a smaller plane, or maybe it wasn't a missile. Maybe it was a Global Hawk or something. Just give up on that. It was a fucking plane. It was Flight 77. It was. All the evidence matches that. In addition to that, you know, when you want to talk about demolition and so on, like, it doesn't matter. If you can't admit there were airplanes, you're done already. You're just, that is so dumb. It doesn't matter what comes after that. And if you're a half plane, you're like, okay, they used them in New York, but not in D.C. and not in Pennsylvania. Like, the half planers. I just don't know. Fire Pixie says, this is why I love this guy. Facts, bitches. Yeah, handle it. Deal with it. They're so arrogant, too. They're like, oh, you think a plane hit? Like, oh, my God. Yes, because all the evidence would say that. They're like, there's no way aluminum can go through steel. Like, I can get vegetable go through steel if it's fast enough. You can shoot a pumpkin through a van. There's videos of it. You ever seen those pumpkin chunking guns? It's pretty awesome.
Oh,
yeah. It's people arguing about science that couldn't pass 4th grade science. That's the most amazing thing.